Hel- Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Indo American Podcast, Environment Podcast series, season two. So, this time we have moved and upgraded our podcast series of season two towards a brighter spectrum of Northern American region. So, in last year we were talking about Canada and India. This year we will be talking about India and the whole North American region. Why we have expanded our spectrum of discussion, because we've been given a lot of suggestions from our American friends to do such comparison between two region. India being a subcontinent, having a vast diversity in terms of flora, fauna, as well as climatic conditions. Same we can talk about, or we can say about America as a geographical region. So both the countries have large deposits of fresh water. They are covered with by sea from three sides, and on top of that we have mountains. We both have deserts in the west. We have coastlines in the southern, eastern, and western coast. Apart from that, we have great biodiversity, that we share together. Both the landscapes have large cats. Both have large number of bear population. Carnivore is there. Major taxa is there. Many plant species are there, and same with the avifauna diversity. So to discuss further in the coming episodes, I like to introduce our guest. She is PhD scholar working in Thailand. She's native she's from America. Her name is Dawn Cook. So let's welcome her, and I hand over the mic to her and she'll introduce herself. Welcome, Dawn.
So thank you for having me. Thank you. Yes, I am from the United States. I hope that doesn't go against me. I hope that's an okay thing. And I'm actually living currently in Thailand. So my PhD research is on the Monocled Cobra, which we share with India actually. That range is quite vast, but it covers the northern area of India. Actually, I think Sunal, in your area, there would be Monocled Cobras, not southern area by the Western Ghats or anything. Um, and so I've received my master's at the University of Arkansas. Teaching science was really how I started things, but I really, really have been very interested in the research aspect of things. And so for the last 5 years, I've been pursuing my PhD on the spatial ecology of the monocled cobra in hopes to, just get some conservation awareness out there, with snakes being kind of the underdog of the reptile world, being able to champion them and just teaching a little bit, trying to bridge that gap between education and research. Um, and I think it's really important, I think, for young people, especially, to have an idea of how other countries operate. So living in another country, in a different country other than my own, and being able to research and understand um, different aspects of just living far from family, just be participating in the education system in a completely different area, understanding a different language or trying to navigate with a different language. And I think that connects really well with India, actually, because there's so many commonalities between uh, life in the United States and wildlife in Thailand. So actually, all three of those places have a really good connection.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Okay. Great.
Not too
Uh,
exciting.
Amazing. So as you just mentioned, you are working on a snake species, monocled cobra, and we do have them
Mhm.
in the in the western Himalayan region. I mean, most in the foothills and floodplains of Gangetic floodplains. We have them, and they are not very common here, but they are not very uncommon at some places, such as in Uttar Pradesh. There's a huge state in India where we found them, and we can see them till Bengal. I mean, if we move along the Himalayan foothills towards northeast region, you will see that India have around 275 species of snakes. So
And
yeah,
that's what's
and we have,
recorded. I think it's probably almost closer to the 300, I bet, with all the ones that don't get hacked in and
yeah,
reported and described and new ones. I bet it's close to 300. Easy.
exactly. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
Awesome.
So yes, and the number, and actually the number is increasing as we are exploring Himalayas. Himalayas were always virgin mountains. Since we started exploring them scientifically and for the purpose of ecological research, we've been finding snakes. In fact, during my studies, I have found two species of snakes which were not reported from this region of Himalayas. One was Lycaon mackinoni, and the other is some sort of, I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Maybe it's a. I thought it's Himalayan pit viper or some morph of Himalayan pit viper, but I don't know. I'm
I
still
think
have.
I think you did it during your study, right? When you were doing
Yeah,
the master.
the Lycaon mackinoni I found during my study back in 2012 11. But
Yeah.
just recently during the pandemic, COVID pandemic, I found one more pit viper from the Western Himalayan region. So India, yeah, we have a good. I think we are among top rich by megabiodiverse rich countries in the world. So does United States is, or the America we are talking about. So yeah, it is going.
Because
Yeah.
the sorry for interrupting, but it's really cool because there's multiple climates, and I think that's the
Yes.
really cool thing that brings
Exactly.
such an interesting diversity, because it's not just tropical, it's not just uh, colder weather or subtropical. It kind of ranges. I mean, we look at we can use Florida as the southernmost example, because it pretty much is perfect for any subtropical or semi-tropical area due to all the invasive species in Florida. I
Yes.
mean, there's species from India, there's species from Thailand,
Yes.
there's species from other areas of Southeast Asia, and they thrive there. So the climate is perfect. But then you go to the north, which I always call the Great White North, because you have more snow and less sunny day, or well, I guess you have sunny days unless you're in Seattle. But so everything changes, and it's very interesting because I believe that India also has that a little bit. Things that live in that northernmost region are experiencing temperature ranges much different than the southernmost region. So, which is same for the United States, which is kind of cool.
Exactly. We are also facing the problem of invasive species, which is lantana plant coming to
Oh,
India all the way
yes.
from Mexico and all, which we believe we
Yeah.
came with the wheat which we exported back in 50s. So it's also engulfing the whole, the forest land we have. It's killing our native species. It's actually the red flower of the lantana. We call it the wildfire of being a native species. It's just engulfing.
Mm.
So talking about wildfire, we have the world is witnessing the raging fires in the wild places, especially the newest
Recently
case.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, recently happened in Hawaii, and this Maui is suffering a lot. More than 1,300 people are missing, or if I would put in a in harshest way possible, I can say they're no more.
The officials were saying that only the ashes were remain there.
Yes.
So it is difficult to identify them, and they are saying that it is difficult to pick them up because it's only an ash. And now they will do the DNA testing and all that stuff. And
Wow.
yeah, it was
So
horrible.
yeah, Yes, and yeah, the mankind is losing its. And one more thing which I would like to point out, which I feel strongly since I started my career in conservation, being a biologist or even being a student. I heard one line which really triggered me, or it kind of makes me uncomfortable when I see most Americans, they call it, we are in a war against nature, be it any natural calamity. I never heard people talking about, especially the American people talking about, we are in harmony with the nature. In India we use this, that okay, we and nature are together, we are living with the nature. But whenever it comes to any natural calamity, I heard from big figure in America, they used to say that we are in fight with nature, we have to win it. And the other quote which I would love to make it, I would like to quote is, whatever is designed or developed in America for hunting purposes, in India, we are using them for the conservation purposes, be it trail
Oh,
camera,
trophy hunting.
dart gun, yes, dart gun, camouflage, uh, clothing, whatever you guys make in US for hunting, we use them for conservation in India. So this is also, I look like it's a two sides of a coin, biodiverse rich country, and we will be covering all these topics in the podcast.
So
See,
I've not heard that particular quote as far as we're in a fight with nature. I've only, maybe I'm a little too hippie or too, I guess you would consider me a tree hugger or whatever. I don't care, but whatever label anybody wants to put on me, I'm not, I'm not familiar with that. Most everybody that I know or I hear, um, it's a constant battle to try to bring people over to the conservation side. Um, to the point that now they're arguing whether or not conservation efforts are even enough or if they're doing more harm, depending on what that is. Because at first I thought, Kunal, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted what you were saying. At first I thought you were going into trophy hunting because that is now a huge topic right now, in conservation, because those that have protected land, a lot of times it's because of allowing trophy hunters because they pay big fees that can protect the land. So they're trying to say that working hand in hand with those kinds of hunters actually does more for conservation than just protecting it. Um, I'm not sure that that's necessarily true. Unfortunately, it seems that when you look at things on paper, it's leaning towards that direction. Um, And as far as like camera traps and field gear and things like that, I think camo came into existence because of war, unfortunately, and then everybody else just used it for whatever they wanted to, conservation or hunting or whatever. But unfortunately, I think it was born out of of not great circumstances. Um, but you're right; all of those things are used in a duplicitous manner, almost. Like there are people that use them for conservation and in the same breath, also have them in on their hunting grounds and talk about whatever deer or how many point buck they got or whatever. So yeah, I think that those things are used in both areas. But do you know about, is there a lot of trophy hunt? I don't think there, I think there's too many rules in India. There's a lot of
yes,
rules and laws protecting wildlife. So
we have.
hunting,
Uh,
I don't think is even a thing there, is it?
yeah, in India, we have. I think throughout the world, India bear the most, how to say, strictest or strongest conservation laws in terms of when
Hmm.
it comes to wildlife and
It just
flora
happened
and
after
fauna both.
1970.
Yes, 90, we have Wildlife Protection Act, which was kind of uh, the the laws were in the power since like 1972. Yes, Yadwinder just mentioned. Thank you. So I think that's it. we will be
Yeah,
talking about.
I have a question for Don. Like,
Yes.
you are working on the Cobra species, and definitely there is a problem, or you can say, yeah, definitely it's a problem like snake bite. So people are suffering from the snake bites. Like in US, there is a venom one unit with the 911, so you can have
Mhm.
anti. But is there any facility at in Thailand that people are usually getting from the government or the NGOs?
Yes, actually, Thailand has a quite progressive anti-venom project. So in Bangkok, there's the Red Cross Snake Farm. And forgive me, it's also a very long Thai name, and I don't remember how to pronounce it.
So,
um, but that snake farm actually produces, I believe, all the anti-venom for Thailand. And they do things slightly different than India. India has a polyvariant
yeah,
anti-venom, which means that there's the one that covers all the big four. And some
and they
people,
have
I think, in the beginning of that, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like polyvariant variant venom has it has own side effects. I think.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not, because it's not specific, there's other risks involved. And I think you have one area, I believe, is it in, are the arulas in Agumbe? Is
Yeah,
that where
Agumbe.
anti-venom
I
is
worked
made?
in,
Yes.
yeah, I worked in Agumbe.
Yes. So very similar to India, we have the Red Cross Snake Farm that does that. And they do individual. So if you're bitten by the king cobra, you are getting anti-venom specifically from the king cobra. If it's monocled cobra, it's monocled cobra. If it's the candidus, if it's the Malayan crate, then it's from the Malayan crate. So they do that with the Malayan pit viper, the crate, I mean all of them. I guess I don't need to name them all,
One,
but they even
I
have
need
them
to
for some of
ask.
the coral snakes and things.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So India, we have the the largest number of deaths, human deaths due to snake bite. It's almost back in 2010 with the WHO's data, which I remember correctly. It's plus 50,000 plus deaths each year.
Yes, actually, that's actually a major thing. And when I first started this project, that's one of the things that I wanted to address in Thailand. And fortunately, Thailand does not have nearly the amount of snake bites as many other countries, including India. So, also, I live on an isolated island. So I'm 2.5 hours to the mainland on a ferry. That means, or I'm helicoptered to a hospital off the island. So whether I go to the mainland or I go to the larger island about 15 kilometers away, depends on what happens. So people get airlifted for usually motorbike accidents. We are lucky enough here that they have anti-venom on the island for the king cobra and the monocled cobra, which are the two venomous snakes that I have here. On the mainland, of course, the hospitals have many other things. And I'm not talking about the private hospitals because we have those due to the influx of tourists here, but our government hospital, the Thai government hospital, it doesn't have an MRI machine, but it does have anti-venom. So I think that when we compare different countries and snake bites, um, it's interesting because I think many of them could be, some of them are because people touch them when they don't need to. Like I think recently you just had that, I don't know, I don't want to say mean things, but somebody that was handling inappropriately.
Yeah,
And he was bit in India. I think he's from the United States. I don't follow
yeah,
him. I don't. Um, and that just brings a bad image to some of the things that legitimate researchers are doing. That being said, that's not the focus of when people do snake human conflict. It's really about rural areas. And part of it is medical treatment, understanding how to treat the snake bite, understanding that antivenom is necessary. If it's a Russell's viper, it has to be 1000% you have to have antivenom. There's no like, I'll see how this goes. I'll go to my village, doctor. None of that applies. And so I think sometimes people still think that way and they're not familiar with what exactly can happen. So education and medical treatment, I think, are the first two things, like the biggest things that can help mitigate snake-human conflict. And then just understanding the behavior. I completely 1000% understand a fear. If somebody has a legitimate fear of heights, I'm not asking somebody to climb a tree and get a coconut or go to the rooftop, change my, roof tile or something. They're terrified, and I would not ask them to do that. And that's the same with a legitimate snake phobia or a legitimate snake fear. But when it's just because we don't understand what they do, how do they move with no legs? Like, I can't move that gracefully with no legs. So what is this creature? And I think that antiquated way of thinking, not understanding and just fearing and killing out of fear, is the other aspect of it. And in India, I think snake-human conflict and mitigating those things is a completely different, it's handled in a different way than the way I handle things here. Because this island hasn't seen an envenomation in years. Partly because there's a lot of tourists and nobody wants to touch anything because they're terrified of all snakes. Partly because we don't have the same amount of rice paddies and fields and sugarcane and things. Most of the industry that started here was coconut. So the flying snake lives up there, but it's not massive, so it's not of medical significance.
Okay.
But when you go into rural areas, it matches with India because there's it's a difference of understanding and medical treatment and things. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, nice. So fine. So Thailand.
I think I need somebody with a little card that says, "Please stop talking."
No, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah, and great. You mentioned you actually elaborated the whole situation. So now it makes more sense to talk to someone. Okay, so Dawn, let me wind up the thing here. So Dawn, why she's here in the panel of discussion? Three things actually. First, she's from United States. She have exposed. She's been working in the field of conservation and environment education and awareness in US as well as in Thailand. So being a PhD scholar, she understand Thailand as an Asian country, and she understand uh, about India and Thailand. Thailand does have climatic condition similar to southern Indian parts. So we can consider Thailand, the example of Thailand, quite similar to Indian conditions also. So it's good you are in the panel. You are. I'm very, I'm overwhelmed. You accept our offer and to be a part of this discussion. Uh, and we will be discussing. Yadwinder, anything you want to add, and then I think we should stop the.
I think there is nothing to add because this is kind of teaser to our audience, and she will be on the board for the whole season, and we will cover everything related to the ecology, related to the like we already discussed about the anti-venom thing, and we also talk about the education and the awareness among the people, that how they can simply take care of themselves from the snakes or the wildlife, so that we can reduce the human wildlife conflict. That will be all. Yeah.
Great.
Nice.
So, with Dawn on site, we will be discussing about human snake conflict in India as well as in the US, or how she's handling, how she's doing in Thailand, what sort of research experiences she's got, what species she's working. We will be talking about it because she's working on a species which is found in India. And with all that, I think let's wind up this test session.
Yeah.
You can stop the recording. Why she? What happened?
um. Oh
You want to say something?
no, I mean I always want to say something, but um, I think when it comes to education, I think it's really interesting because the United States has access to decent free education. And yet there's these antiquated practices happening still, which is very frustrating. Um, People often say, well, that's the way it's always been done. Well, I mean, okay, but that's not an excuse. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And once we gather more information, we understand and we learn, we adjust what we do in the future. So if a new material is discovered and we can somehow revolutionize batteries for cell phones, of course we're going to take that technology and we're going to use that knowledge to power us forward as a society, right? But for some reason, when it comes to the earth, we we learn all this information and we know what we should do, and it's in our hand. It's literally in that hand, which is this lovely, magical, powerful device that has so much knowledge that we are gives us so much access to knowledge. Yet we still cling on to these egotistical and antiquated behaviors, and I don't understand it. That is the one thing. I think that's the most frustrating point for me. That's the frustrating point for me.
Okay,
Great.
Yeah, sorry.
great.
I just feel like sometimes there's no reason for some of the things that they do with like the rattlesnake roundups, and there's absolutely none. Like that, nothing supports that in any way whatsoever. I can understand if somebody goes if the deer population has they're overbred and they're running rampant, and they can there's diseases and things that can happen when the herd is too big. I can understand opening up hunting and culling that because it's overpopulated. But for other creatures, I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I don't understand. And it's frustrating for me.
Same. We have now in India we have hunting permissions for wild boar, for nilgai, what do you call it, blue bull, and for the macaque, rhesus macaque. We have licensed hunting permissions for few other species which they declare vermin in recent years. And now India is facing the forest amendment bill, which is going to classify 23% of reserve forest as non-forest uh, zone. So they are
Oh,
doing, and these are the critical core habitats of many larger taxa. And India is going to lose 23% of its forest, and it is a huge number for such a largely populated city of our country.
for sure. 23% is a huge number. I mean,
Yes,
that, you don't want it on an exam, but when it comes to nature and wildlife, that's giant. That's
yes,
absolutely
it's a
giant,
giant. True. And
man.
keeping in mind that we have only 14% of the total land, percent of our landscape in as forest cover. And out of that, only 2.5% is tiger habitat.
Mm-hmm. And that
And
that
when
raises a lot of human wildlife conflict as well. Because
exactly,
they've got no place
and
to go. I don't understand. It seems so simple to me. It seems so
yes,
simple. I mean, if somebody bulldozes my house, I need a place to go. So I'm
yeah,
going to go to the nearest area to sleep, right? But for
true.
some reason, you bulldoze a tiger's area and you're just like, I can't believe he just came into the village. Well, how can we not believe that? How does that not make any sense whatsoever? I don't.
Great. So Don,
Humans
I would like to
continually.
add one. Yes, I can understand your emotions. I would like to add one more thing about your personality, that the viewer should know that many people in India think, or in the world think, what America does in the name of conservation, on the name of peace, is sometimes it's outrageous, and it's undigestible, and they're doing things which are not supposed to be done by wise people. It's just a saying. But on the contrary, I'm glad we have an American who thinks otherwise. Glad you're here. Glad human like you
I
exist
like
on
it
the
when
earth.
people think that I'm different.
Yeah, I
Thank
believe
you.
that.
I'm happy to be here.
And
Thanks.
and as you previously mentioned, welcome to our tree community, huggers community.
Right? Yes. I mean, people put that label on us, but I'm okay with that.
Glad.